What's going on, everyone? Happy Sunday to everyone. Hopefully everyone is doing well, staying safe, healthy. If you had taken a COVID test, hopefully you have tested negative. If you did test positive, I hope you have a full and speedy recovery with no long COVID issues. It is time now for the Sunday edition of the Pandemic Update for Sunday, September 1st, 2024. If you're new to my channel, welcome to my channel. This is the channel where we do the daily pandemic update on all things COVID and any other virus that can be a health threat to you. Today is Sunday, which means we will be taking a look at viruses in wastewater. Most importantly, COVID in wastewater, but hey, we're going to take a look at other viruses as well. And we're going to take a look at some other data, including the latest news stories that are going on today. So if you're new to my channel, subscribe down below. Give this video a thumbs up, hit that notification bell, and share these videos with anyone you know, and leave your comments down below. Let's try for 200 like button hits today, and let's go big. Let's try for 75 plus comments. Let's get the conversation rolling. I know there's a lot of things that have to be said. Alright, starting off with the news today, Catfish and the Bottlemen are canceling a gig over illness on day of show. They don't say what the illness is, but like many times before, as of recently, we are finding out that a lot of these illnesses end up being COVID. And remember, they are not allowed to state whether or not they have COVID. And their show was to be in Dublin, Ireland. So that is Catfish and the Bottlemen canceling a gig due to COVID. All right, speaking of COVID, have you thought about flying lately, or do you have to fly? I saw this posted on X. Someone took a screenshot of an article from Thrillist, and it says, "Can you hop on a flight if you have COVID?" Why should that even be a question? Here's your answer. If you test positive for COVID, you need to isolate and quarantine unless you absolutely have no choice but to go somewhere. And if you're positive for COVID, please avoid going on an airplane. I know, there's a lot of people that do it. Either they don't test, or they do test and say, "Oh, well, it's positive. I have to go. I have a wedding to go to. I have a business meeting. No, I can't miss this wedding. This COVID, it's just a cold. It's no big deal." Blah, 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 blah. Stop. Stop. You need to take this serious. Maybe it's no big deal to you. You have to understand something. The world just does not revolve around you and only you. There's other people around you. You could be traveling and flying with high-risk people who could get hospitalized, who could even die because they have conditions that would not mix well with COVID. Or you could run into the perfectly healthy person. He could get COVID, and he could be unlucky, and that one COVID infection could lead to them getting long COVID. Please, if you're positive for COVID, do not fly. Do the right thing. Find another way. Do something else. Quarantine. Do whatever you have to do. And please, also, if you're positive and you do have to go out in the public and you have really no choice, please mask up with a high quality N95 or better mask. Thank you. All right, moving on now to this. In Pennsylvania, whooping cough is really becoming an issue. 800% increase in PA whooping cough cases since last year, the CDC says. Yes, this is something that is really starting to get me concerned, and I don't like seeing all these cases of pertussis, especially not in the state that I live in. Currently, I'm up here in Maine, but hey, it's been rising in many different states. I bet if I had data from here in Maine, it is probably starting to rise here as well. And it says, as of August 17th, we talked about this the other day, believe it or not, 1,666 cases reported in Pennsylvania. But this is something that's worth repeating. It's not just a problem here in the United States. Corona Heads Up tweeted a story about Poland having an alarming increase in cases. Well, look at this. From January to mid-August this year, 10,461 cases of whooping cough have been reported in Poland. This represents a 20-fold increase compared to the same period last year. That should not even be a thing. All right, here's something else. COVID is still on the rise in some parts of the United States. Yes, Wastewater shows And it's Wastewater Sunday. We're going to look at this. There are still some areas that are rising. In some areas, they had peaked, and now they're doing a little mini surge up to the potential maybe peaking point or something like that. And a part of that could be because of back to school. It's not going to last long. It's going to last another week or so. Then we should drop. We'll have to see if there's any impact from Labor Day, but so many people have been infected this summer that I don't expect Labor Day to actually cause a major surge. We should probably be dropping as we head into September. But what does that mean? Well, that means levels will still be high. Yeah, they'll be falling, but you can still get infected with COVID, and they're not going back to the levels of spring. Then we do have subvariant XEC. I think I'm saying that correctly. XEC, which at some point that may enter the picture down the line as we head towards October. We just started September. So yes, there are still some regions of the United States that are still rising thanks to the KP 3.1.1 variant. But remember, variants this day and age do burn through the population relatively quick, instead of what was happening in the past where it would take a long time. But nonetheless, the reason why this wave has just lasted so long is because there have been so many of these variants. Once one gets to dominance, another one starts to take over. It's just totally insane what has happened this year. Alright, this is interesting. There was a study I added to my website. Turns out this study was actually released a while ago, but this study has to do with transmission of COVID, and the study reveals wood surfaces can reduce COVID-19 spread. Now, we do know COVID is mainly a virus that is airborne, but it can transmit on surfaces as well. We found out that it transmits both ways, but the best way, as we all know, is through airborne transmission, which is why masking is so important. But hey, hand washing is something that and cleaning surfaces, you should have been doing that before COVID, because there's a lot of different stuff out there. I mean, no one wants to touch something no one wants to eat something that came from someone's dirty hands. You get the idea. All right, moving on now to some data. I wanted to take a look at pollen levels, but we've been having problems with this. I've tried 2 different browsers. Maybe it's just a simple computer restart would solve the problem. I don't know. Eventually we will get back to pollen levels. There are still some red levels, I suspect, across some regions of the United States. Taking a look at what is going on with air quality today, and we see if it ever comes up, there it goes. Yes, still some problems on the West Coast. California. Look at this over here. California is starting to get bad again, in Idaho. If you don't have to go outdoors in Idaho, I'm seeing levels 485. 760 is even showing up. That, my friends, is really dangerous. Air purifiers, put them on turbo, max, put them high, and consider masking outdoors and indoors, and do not open your windows. That is really dangerous for your lungs. Those are some of the highest levels we have seen all year. Wow, look at that. It just updated. I'm seeing one that's over 1,000 now. That is extremely bad. Other parts of the country, there are some greens, there's some yellows mixed in, especially in the East Coast. There are still some yellows and oranges mixed in. All right, moving on now. I do have another place where I talk about climate and weather. I did a few tweets there this morning. Maybe do some more later in the day. It is Climate Data Report over on X. Check that out. Let's see if there's any update from Philadelphia yet. We're recording a little bit earlier today. We have to go to their page. As of the time I started this, there was no update. Let's see here. Nope, nothing in for September 1st yet. Actually, nothing in for the Saturday numbers, which would have been August 31st. We will try and get that to you tomorrow with tomorrow's numbers for today and yesterday. Doing a live look in at Montgomery County, Pennsylvania, and we do see there are definitely some calls going on for ambulances. Right now, we do see respiratory emergency, accidents, subjects in pain, typical episode. Yes, we do see there are some calls there. How about Chester County, Pennsylvania? Oh yes, definitely some calls going on here as well. Respiratory difficulties coming up a couple times. Sick person, hemorrhaging, a whole bunch of different things popping up at this time. All right, it is Wastewater Sunday. Let's get over to the wastewater portion of our video. And first off, we'll start off in Canada. The viral activity level for COVID at this time is high. Flu is low. Flu B is not detected. And RSV is low at this time. Taking a look at the CDC page here. And We've been talking about this. This updated on Friday. I mentioned this on Friday. I'm going to mention it again. There's a whole bunch of colors here on the map. I should explain what they mean first. Each color represents a level of COVID or data not being reported. Gray means not reported. White means new site. Dark blue is 0 to 19% COVID detected. That's really low levels of COVID. Out of all these sites, and it does say the actual total sites with current data, 1,255. Only 16 of them are low levels of COVID at this time. Totally ridiculous. It shows that we really do need to see things start dropping, which it's going to happen. It's going to be starting now. Going to start dropping. KP 3.1.1 did its thing to extend this wave. This wave started all the way back at some point in May. And here we are. We made it all the way to just 16 sites that have low levels of COVID. That's really bad. That's a number that actually got worse. If we take a look at the chart here, we can see it looked like we were peaking. Now there's a little bit of a mini upward movement again. And then after that, hopefully we will start to drop. So again, just 16 sites in the lowest level. Then you have a slightly darker shade of blue, 20 to 39% COVID detected. That's 83 sites. 40 to 59% COVID detected. We're starting to get into moderate now. 257 sites there. Moderate to near high. 60 to 79% COVID detected. 569 sites. And the highest shade on the map is this dark red, which comes after orange. That is 80 to 100% COVID detected. That is 298 sites. Now, full disclaimer, you do have a lot of areas, including where I'm at right now in Maine, North Dakota, where they don't even bother to check the wastewater. You do have a lot of places that may be wooded areas that run on septic tanks that are not connected to a wastewater treatment facility. Guess what? We can't detect the COVID detection in those wastewater areas because, well, they're not connected to a public wastewater system. It's just going to the septic tank. So we have no way of knowing real numbers in many areas, and, well, especially the areas that don't bother to even check all that much. So let's start off today. How about we start this map in the West Coast? We usually start in the East. We'll start in the West. We're just going to quickly go through this because there are some WastewaterSCAN sites that I do want to take a look at today. We'll get to that shortly. And starting off in the Northwest United States, and you can see here, there is still quite a bit of red showing up in the extreme northwest portion of the lower 48. And you can see here, though we're seeing that levels are starting to drop in Washington State, which is some good news, and it's something that we need to see. Like, look at here, Island, Washington, that is starting to drop. Taking a look here at King County, we're near Seattle now. Yes, that is dropping as well. Pierce and King, this is a big wastewater site. It's red, but it is dropping. Hopefully it will drop to orange relatively soon. Jefferson County is orange, dropping at this time. Taking a look at what's going on in Oregon. Do I really need to click on these sites? Look at it. There's still a lot of orange and red. Whether they're dropping or, like in this case, leveling off, there's a lot of work that needs to be done. We need to reduce the number of red and orange sites in that area. Same deal with Idaho. You don't have a lot of sites, but the ones that you do have are red and orange. California, similar issue. Red and orange. Utah, there's still a lot of red showing up for you. Let's actually click on some of these sites. Weber, Davis. Okay, this is good news. It's starting to drop, but you have some work to do. And I am seeing one light blue site. Take a look at that. There's some good news. That one has actually started to really drop. Making our way further to the east. You get the idea here. There's still a lot of high levels of COVID on these maps. Alrighty, I want to go over to the next way that we can take a look. Actually, first, let's go to New York City because this will not be on WastewaterSCAN. That's the whole idea here. We want to take a look at places we can't see on WastewaterSCAN here on the CDC site. Kings County, New York. Almost 1.2 million population. Starting to drop at this time, and we do see the dreaded gray is starting to show back. In other words, no data, and hopefully we won't lose all the New York City sites again. And we do see the other sites. They are dropping at this time. Where else can we look at WastewaterSCAN? Let's see what's going on in Mississippi. We don't often check that. As we get down near Jackson, Mississippi, take a look at this. We do have orange here. It's not updating frequently, but doesn't look like we're seeing rises anymore. Hopefully it is peaking there. Alrighty, there's another way we can take a look at wastewater. We can look at it through taking all the wastewater sites in the state and averaging them out. And that's what we do on this site. And you can see here, Oregon is still very high. Wyoming still very high. Colorado, 14 sites reported. Well, the result is still very high from all of them. Oklahoma, very high. Kentucky, Indiana, North Carolina, South Carolina, still very high. Some places have dropped the high now. Texas is no longer very high, just coming in at high. Then you go to West Virginia, still high, but almost ready to drop to moderate. New York State has now finally gone up to very high. This shows just one site reporting. I'm not understanding why that is. And Pennsylvania is also coming up at very high at this time. Then we go down to Florida. Florida's still very high. Hoping that drops to at least just high relatively soon. Nebraska is also still coming up high. And take a look at Michigan. Michigan now comes in at low levels with 46 sites reporting. So that is some good news. All right, let's finish off today with some wastewater scan data. Hopefully it does load here. And we'll start off with the nationwide levels for WastewaterSCAN. And taking a look at this, you can see here, COVID level nationwide is still listed as high. RSV level at this time is low, but we're at the very, very early stages of a rise starting to occur. Influenza A is dropping. Influenza B is not much of an issue yet. HMPV is low, and norovirus is coming up as medium at this time. Taking a look at the Midwest region, we can see here that levels are still very high. There is somewhat of a drop starting to occur. That's some good news. RSV is low, influenza A is low, influenza B is low, and HMPV is low at this time. Norovirus has gone up ever so slightly. Now moving over to the Northeast region, and we can see in the Northeast that things still have some work to do. Now, there is a wonky movement upward. Pay no attention to that. But I will tell you this, even if that gets corrected, there will still be somewhat of a little bit of a movement that has started to go up again. RSV is low, influenza A is low, influenza B, HMPV is low, and norovirus is still medium at this time. Taking a look at the South region of the United States, we can see COVID. It's still high, though dropping. RSV was low, and now, like I said, the early stages of rising. RSV will rise in the south first, as will influenza. But right now, influenza is not rising. Influenza A, influenza B is still listed as low. HMPV is low. Norovirus is in the medium. And I should know for influenza, it is starting to increase on the CDC map for infection levels. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. COVID in the West was still medium. There's a little wonky movement upward, but overall it has peaked and is starting to drop. RSV, a little bit of a rise starting. Influenza A is low at this time. Influenza B is still low. HMPV is still low. And norovirus is listed at medium at this time. Let's go down to Florida. Let's check in with a Disney and see what is going on there. Hopefully we will see that levels are continuing to drop at this time. And we can see here, a little bit of these up-down movements. So it's not really dropping all that fast. Given it's a holiday weekend, it's probably busy at Disney, so we'll have to see if that does anything over the next week. That's for COVID. Let's go up to Atlanta. And in Atlanta, we want to look at a couple things here. Let's go over to Clayton, Atlanta, Georgia. We want to look at COVID, but we also want to see, is influenza starting to rise yet? We can see here, COVID levels are listed at medium at this time. RSV is low, influenza A is low, influenza B is low, HMPV is low, norovirus is low at this time, so we're not seeing those rises there just yet. Let's go on up to the Northeast, then we will end our day in the West Coast. How about we check on Stamford, Connecticut, and see what is going on there at this time. And in Stamford, Connecticut, the state is a little lagged as of August 28th, not terribly lagged. Levels for COVID were rising at this time. Influenza A, influenza B are low. Norovirus is being listed as high. There was a rise for norovirus back in August. Now let's end our day on the West Coast, and I think tomorrow we'll spend several more minutes taking a look at more wastewater scan sites because we're almost at 20 minutes here. Let's take a look and see what's going on in LA real quickly, and we'll see here. Yeah, LA is showing up medium at this time, slight rise, ever so slight rise. But overall, if we go to the LA dashboard, and I think we should do that real quickly, you will see in LA that everything really actually is starting to drop for cases. Take a look at this. Cases is really starting to drop. Testing positivity rate, though, for some reason, has started going up again. We'll have to keep an eye on that. Not terribly concerned just yet. Deaths going up. Remember, deaths are the last lagging indicator. Hospitalizations are dropping. And wastewater from this dashboard does show things stabilizing in LA. Alrighty, folks, we'll have more wastewater stuff tomorrow. There was some news we had to get through today. I assume even though tomorrow is Labor Day, we'll have the B&O update at some point. If not, we'll just run with more wastewater. I do owe you some wastewater sites. It's been a very busy news period lately. If you enjoyed this update, give it a thumbs up. Want to see more data like this, more updates like this? Subscribe down below. We're trying to get to 10,000 subscribers by the end of the year. I want to keep as many people safe and informed as possible. So subscribe down below, hit that notification bell, share this video with anyone you know, and leave your comments down below. I'll see you all again next time. Until I see you again next time, stay safe, everyone, and have a fantastic Sunday afternoon. Thanks for watching.